How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Palworld card game video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, we have our very first Palworld deck video, which is really exciting. We have 5 Palworld brews to talk about today, and, well, we'll get into it in just a moment. If you're new to the channel and you're new to how I do these kind of deck techs, this one is one of the 2 types of deck tech videos that I typically do. This is the one where I cover a good number of decks, usually early on in a TCG season, usually featuring decks that I think are interesting or ones that I'm personally testing out. And then later we'll do like official, full-on just deck techs that feature one specific deck and go really deep into one particular deck. So today we have 5 decks to talk about. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our overlay and start diving into our first 5 Palworld decks. If there's any decks that I'm not featuring in this video, by the way, let me know in the comment section down below and we'll see if we can feature it in a future video. All right, let's do it. All right, let's kick it off with what is likely going to be my pet deck, at least for Palworld Set 1, at least what I anticipate it to be. We are going to be talking about Reanimator. This is a blue-purple Reanimator deck, and I think it's going to be super fun. It just speaks to my soul. We're also using a brand new website this time. We're using palpagos.gg. We'll see how this one goes compared to the other websites we've used. I'm kind of still, fishing around to find out which one will work best for these kind of videos. So let's talk about this Reanimator deck. Now, as you can see here, I think what we're going to do is we'll talk about the basically how they have it structured here. We'll talk about the Lucky Pals, the Pals, and then everything else. This is essentially kind of like a mid-range value deck. We want to leverage powerful reanimation effects, and if you don't know what reanimation means, it means taking pals from our graveyard or trash and then bringing them directly into play. So we have a lot of versatility, and we also have a lot of resilience to like removal and that kind of stuff. So one of the key cards here is Catrus Abyssal Sorcerer. This is one of our Lucky Pals, and you can see here we have a little bit of a different pal breakdown for the Lucky Pals. We're doing 3, 3, and 2. I really like the menacing. I think is really good in this deck, but I also think Shadowbeak and Catrus are key to this deck. So we're running 3 Catrus. So Catrus is a 6-drop, 900 power 2-strike pal, and then on act, once per turn, you can butcher one of your other pals, and then this card gets plus 1,000 power, but also an additional strike until end of turn, which is really good. That's fine. That's great. Butchering a pal is good. We have some cards that synergize with that. But the most important part is the auto effect. Auto, when one of our pals is butchered, choose up to 1 cost X normal pal from our graveyard and deploy it in the rest state. X is equal to the cost of the butchered pal minus 1. Now that's really important. It's not X or less. It's very specific. It's cost X normal pal. So we can't get a Lucky Pal back. It has to be a normal pal, and it literally has to cost 1 less than the butchered pal. So I think some people were initially evaluating this one not entirely correctly because it's not X or less. It has to be 1 specifically lower. So if you butcher a 6 cost pal, you have to get back a 5 cost pal. It's not a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It has to be 5 specifically. So keep that in mind. We did build the deck with that in mind. So we do have kind of what I would call like a rundown. So we have like 6 cost pals that can get back 5 cost pals, and we have 5 cost pals that can get back 4 cost pals, and 4 and 3. That kind of deal. So we did build this kind of drawback into the deck. So keep that in mind as we go forward. We're also running Shadowbeak. Shadowbeak is a really big part of this deck. It's an 8-drop, so very costly. 8-drop Lucky Pal, 1300 power, 3-strike. And then it has 2 continuous effects and an auto. Continuous, while this card is in the rest rate, it is nighttime. We don't really care about night for this deck. We do have a Nocturnal deck we'll talk about in a moment. But Shadowbeak specifically cares about it being night, so Shadowbeak activates their own effect. Continuous, if it's night, all of our pals' auto effects activate twice. And we have a ton of really powerful auto effects, including the Catrus effect, right? So if we have Shadowbeak on the field and they're in the rest state and it is night, then Catrus's auto effect to basically reanimate a pal will trigger twice and we'll get 2 pals back. which is actually really, really sweet. We also have a ton of other auto effects we'll talk about as we go, so this is just a really, really important part. And then also, it has another effect, auto, at the end of our turn, choose one of our pals and butcher it. If you butchered one or more pals this way, your opponent chooses one of their pals and puts it into the graveyard. Once again, we get to do this twice if this is in the rest state, and it works with Catris, because Catris just cares about our pals being butchered, doesn't care about who's doing the butchering. So you can get an insane amount of value if you somehow can line both of these up. It's very infrequent because Catris is a 6-drop, Shadowbeak is an 8-drop. It's really infrequent that you actually will have both of these online, but just keep that in mind. And also I want to mention now, and this is going to be a big part of Palworld, at least in set 1, 1300 power is a really, really good breakpoint. It means it survives the shotgun. So that's really, really important. Shotgun basically board wipes everything. We'll talk about shotgun when we get to red decks. I think shotgun's going to be a really, really important meta card. But yeah. Shadowbeak, survive shotgun, which is really important. And then finally, for our lucky pals, we have the Menacing Darkness Dwelling Scorpion, 5-drop, 700 power, 2 strike, and then auto retaliate, which is a sweet keyword, which says when this card is put into the graveyard during a battle, put the opposing combat pal into the graveyard as well. So it just takes anything with it if it's battling it. And then also importantly, auto, when this card is put into the graveyard, choose up to one normal pal from our graveyard and return to our hand. This is great. We can get any pal back. Well, any normal pal back. But we can get our Force of pals back, which are the ones that you can discard to prevent damage. So we can actually get these back with the menacing effect, which I think is very, very cool. So, yes, I like the menacing a lot. I realize it's kind of like, it might be like my overlay might be overlapping on it for the cards on this side. I will endeavor to think of other options here. I guess I could just click on it. I'll just click on it. I'll just click on them from here on out. I think this will be a little bit cleaner. So for the first 2 cards, sure. Or for the first 3 cards, sure. So here's the menacing. And once again, this is an auto effect, so it'll do double with Shadowbeak in play, which is really, really nice. Getting 2 pals back when this dies is very good. All right, let's talk about our normal pals. We have a huge suite of normal pals. First up, we have the Blaze Howl Noct, Dark Flame Defender. This is our Force of pals for this deck, and that's kind of like the shorthand that I use because I come from a very, very long TCG history. I play like every game under the sun, but I started with Magic the Gathering in 1995, and this is kind of like a Force of Will effect, right? You discard this plus another card to cancel a thing, or you can pay 1. So yeah, that's what this does. Why are we running this one over any of the other ones? Well, it's a 6-drop, and I think it fits this kind of like this nice little medium here. There are technically 5 drops that we could run instead of the 6-drop, which might be what we do going forward, but I think the 6 is really good for this deck. And once again, Catris really cares about cost, and the fact that we have this as a 6-drop means we can get back 5 drops specifically with Catris. So that's another thing to keep in mind with this deck. The cost matters regarding Catris's Butcher and Reanimation effect. So that's another reason why we're running this as a 6 instead of one of the 5s. Next up, we have Celeray Loop de Loop. This card's super good. You'll see this in a lot of my decks. It's a 3-drop, 400 power, 1 strike, but auto, on attack, you draw a card and then you discard a card. It's super, super good. Helps set up, a graveyard kind of shenanigans. We can discard something purposefully, and then we can reanimate it with the Catris effect. So like we very rarely lose value on this card, or we can get it back with Menacing or whatever. So this one in particular is very, very good in this deck. It just helps fuel our graveyard synergies and is also just smooths out our hand. So Celeray, very good. Next up we have the Elphadrin Aqua. This is a 6-drop, 900 power, 2-strike pal. Auto on deploy, draw 2, and then choose a card from your hand and put it on top of your deck. This is pretty sweet because you can draw 2 and then you can put like a lucky pal on top of your deck. So you can maybe set up a lucky pal hit from your opponent. You gotta know, by the way, though, playing Palworld, if your opponent's playing the Elphadrin Aqua, when they do this and they put something back on top, you kind of have to guess that it's going to be a lucky pal. So you need to be playing around that if you're going to be playing a lot of Palworld. Your opponent does this, you should probably try to chip in with like a lower damage pal just to test the proverbial waters. I think Elfidron Aqua is pretty good. Once again, it has an auto, so we get double value out of this from Shadowbeak, and then also it's a 6-drop, so it helps us get 5 drops back. We're only running 2 copies of this. It's good in the deck, but it's not like the best thing. But it does do a decent job. Next up, we have Lee's Punk Treasure Bandit. I think this is actually one of the best purple cards in the game. It's super good. It's a 3-drop, 200 power, 1-strike Pal, and then auto, when this card is put into the graveyard, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and discards it. Obviously, we get double value out of this from Shadowbeak, but we get extra value out of this from any of our things that butcher stuff, which is really good because we get an additional effect when this dies. It's very good. You can also just use this as a blocker to block your opponent's attack and then make them discard a card. But yeah, getting this one back multiple times and then blocking with it or butchering it is really powerful. This is one of the cards you want to see early on when you're playing with this deck. Next up, we have, let's go with the Gungullet next. This is very close to the Lee's Punk. So Gungullet, Yearning for the Skies, is a 4-drop, 600 power, 2-strike Pal. Auto, when it's put into the graveyard, draw a card. This is great for all the reasons that Lee's Punk was good, except kind of the opposite. We get card advantage rather than ripping cards from our opponent's hand. This Gungullet's also really good. I play this on a lot of blue decks. I think this is a very powerful card. So these two are butcher fodder, is what I would call them. They're really good with something like the Catris or the Medieval Medicine Workbench, so we can get them back. Yeah, good stuff. So these are great. These are cards you want to see. And then you can butcher Gungullet with Catris, and then you can get back a Lee's Punk, which is also very good. Next up, we have Lylene Noct. We're only running 2 copies of this. It's a huge pal that has a great ability for our deck. 8-drop, 1700 power, 3-strike. Act, rest this card and discard a card from your hand, and you choose a 6 or less cost pal from our graveyard, and you deploy it in the rest state. Once again, this can hit 6 drops, and well, it's really solid. It helps us get back stuff like our Catris, which is a 6-drop. It cannot get back the Shadowbeak, but it can get back something like the Menacing, which is really good. Getting back the Menacing, which then also has its auto effect to get stuff back, is kind of just a really nice value engine. And this is also one of the few ways we can get back the Lylene, if the Lylene is in the graveyard. So yeah, really good. We don't run too many of these. It's an 8-drop, and it just kind of, spins the wheels a little bit, but it's still really strong, I think. And it's just huge. Once again, 1700 surviving shotgun is really important. We're also running my favorite Relaxosaurus Hungry Gunner 7-drop auto on deploy. It's a 1200 power 3-strike pal. Auto on deploy, choose up to 1 6 or less pal, and you rest it. And while this card is in the base, the card does not stand. So basically, it just locks a dude down until Relaxosaurus leaves the field. It's really solid, and once again, this being a 7-drop actually works pretty well because you can, if you need to, you can sack this and you can get back a one of the 6-drops, like the Blaze Howl Noct or the Elfidron Aqua, which then can later sack it to get like a 5-drop back, like the Tombat. So anyway, like I said, we kind of like planned this out so we can work around the Catris's effect. And then finally for our pals, we have Tombat, out of nowhere. It's a 5-drop, 600 power, 2-strike pal. Auto on deploy, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You can choose any pal from among them, add it to your hand, and put the remaining in the graveyard. So this is amazing for this deck. This is everything that we want to do. It has a good auto, so we can get double value out of Shadowbeak. We can grab the best pal from the top of the deck, and it puts stuff into our graveyard, which then we could use for our graveyard effects. And it's also a 5-drop, which means if we butcher it, we can get back something like the Gungullet from Catris. And so yeah, that is our final pal. It's just super powerful, and the way this deck plays is so much fun. This is my first iteration of the deck. Well, not technically. I've actually been tweaking this quite a bit, but I'm really curious to see how this plays in an overall bigger meta. I have been playtesting all the decks in this video, but it's mostly just been against friends who are also like playtesting their random brews. So once the full meta is out and everyone's really playing and you can kind of get a better idea of what all the competitive decks are, that's when we can really start to evaluate this kind of stuff. But I think this is a great starting point, and this is my personal project for Palworld Set 1, this is my pet deck. I really, really love this deck. It's so much fun. All right, let's talk about the rest of the deck. So we have the Medieval Workbench. Actually, it's better just to show it like this. We have the Medieval Workbench. So this is a 4-cost structure, 1300 health. Act once per turn. You pay 3. It's hard to see on this, but it's 3. You pay 3 and assign a PAL. Choose 1 X cost or less. So this one does or less from our graveyard and deploy it in the rest state. X equals the cost of the assigned PAL plus 2, which is really good. That means we do have ways to get the Lylene knocked back if we rest or if we assign a 6-drop or higher. So we could technically also get the Lylene knocked back. But yeah, this is just a great way to just keep getting our pals back. We really want to do, we really want to reanimate pals with auto effects so we actually get value out of them. Getting Relaxosaurus back with this is really good because you don't actually lose a lot of tempo. One of the big downsides of something like this is, yeah, you get a pal back, but they're in the rest state, they can't block for you, you lose a bunch of tempo. However, getting a pal back that actually has an immediate effect, like Relaxosaurus, is really good for this situation. So you can get the Relaxosaurus back, and then you can rest one of your opponent's dudes down and kind of like lock it down. And obviously, once again, this is an auto effect for the Relaxosaurus, and you can get double value out of the Shadowbeak, as I mentioned before. Once again, any of these auto effects, they are all super good with Relaxosaurus. As you can see, most of the deck is built around having like powerful auto effects. All right, and then let's go to the events. We have a couple really powerful pieces of removal. We have the Dark Cannon. It's just a 3-drop quick. You can choose a 5 or less PAL, cost 5 or less PAL, and you just kill it. Really powerful, running 3 copies in the main deck. And then I'm also running Strike from Darkness. Just a simple 4-cost, kill any PAL. It's not quick, it's slower, but it just kills anything. And we're running 2 of these in the deck. The numbers here might change over time, but I figured we wanted a little bit more early game interaction, but just having the ability to kill anything is super powerful. We're also running 3 copies of Victor's Strategy. That's just a 3-cost. Basically, choose the best card from the top 5 of your deck. But we can also bounce something as well. So there's 3 modes. The first mode, you get to pick one of them. First mode is you look at the top 5 of your deck and pick a card from it, put it in your hand, shuffle the rest into your deck. Or you can choose a PAL, return it to the hand. Or you can draw X cards, where X is equal to the number of our structures. We actually run structures, but not very many, so that's very unlikely that we do that one. Usually it is a pay 3, grab a Catris, or like a Shadowbeak or something really important. But we can also bounce something if we need to, if we need some tempo. And then finally, we are running Zoe's Strategy. This is one of my favorite cards in the game. I think it's extremely powerful and it's very good in this deck. So once again, choose one of the following. You can choose up to 5 of your opponents wood and or food, and then they lose them, which could be good against some matchups. Or this is what these are the 2 that we really care about. We can choose one of our pals from our graveyard and return it to our hand, and then our opponent discards a card. This is a great way to get back any of our Force of Pals or our Lucky Pals. Or we can choose one of our pals and butcher it, and then if we butchered a card this way, our opponent chooses a pal and they put it in the graveyard. So this is kind of like a we sack a dude and they have to sack a dude kind of effect, which is really good. Obviously, this synergizes directly with Catris because Catris cares about butchering things specifically. But just generally speaking, this card is extremely powerful in our deck. Does everything that we want to do. I'm running 4 copies of that, of course. And yeah, that is my Reanimator deck. I'm not gonna spend this long talking about every single deck, but I really wanted to go deep in this one. This is like my personal, this is my pet deck. I will be building every single deck featured today, by the way, like in paper. All right, let's move on to the next deck. This is, if the Reanimator deck was my, number 1 pet deck, this is probably my 2nd pet deck. This is my dragon deck. Now this is blue and red dragons, and it's really sweet. So let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about Chillet first. So Chillet's a really big, important part of this deck. Chillet's a 5-cost, 900 power 2-strike Lucky Pal. Auto on deploy, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an 8-cost or less Dragon Pal, you can just deploy it for free. If you don't, you add it to your hand. Obviously, we want to synergize with this as much as we can. We want to hit big dragons from the top of our deck and play them for free. And so that's kind of what the deck is built around, and we have a lot of ways to facilitate that and just to stay alive. This is kind of like a really powerful mid-range, almost combo-y kind of deck. Our other lucky pal, and you have a lot of options for this, but I like the Yormantide Ignis. This is a 1700 power 4-strike pal, and it says, act once per turn. You can pay 3 or discard 2 cards, and then you stand this. So you can get double attacks out of the Yormantide. In fact, it's kind of crazy. If you play Chillet, and Chillet has a strike of 2, and you get lucky enough to reveal a Yormantide, or maybe you set it up, a Yormantide from the top, you play the Yormantide for free. Yormantide attacks twice for a total of 8 strikes, and Chillet does 2 strikes. That's a total of 10 strikes between Chillet and Yormantide. You can technically one-shot kill your opponent if they have no interaction, and if they don't get lucky hitting any lucky pals from the top of their deck. It's unlikely that that happens, but that there's still the possibility of doing that, which is crazy. So you do have this nuts high roll potential with this deck. That's not the game plan. It's just it's like a byproduct of playing this deck, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, we have pretty powerful cards with Chillet and the Yormantide Ignis. Let's talk about our normal pals. Basically, everybody running all the dragons that they have currently in set 1. So we have the Elphadren Gentle Radiance. It's just a 4-cost, 600 power, 2-strike pal. Auto on attack. You can reveal a card from your hand. If you reveal a dragon, this card gets plus 500 power until end of turn, which makes it into an 1100 attacker for 4, which is actually very powerful. Usually you want to do clear up your opponent's board when you're attacking with the Elphadren. But yeah, it's solid. It has a 2-strike. Next we have the Elphadren Aqua. So we already went over this with the Reanimator deck, but this is a 6-drop, 900 power, 2-strike pal. On deploy, draw 2 and put a card from your hand on top of the deck. Now that might sound like it's really good with Chillet, but Elphadren is a 6-drop, and you only have like a maximum of 10 soul. So it's really unlikely that it'll matter for Chillet specifically, because this is a 6-drop once again, and Chillet is a 5-drop, which equals 11. So there's not a great way to combo the 2 cards together right now, unless you have some sort of ways to get like soul back, which we don't in this deck. So keep that in mind. This is usually just to kind of set up maybe a lucky pal, so your opponent can, so you can like, prevent some damage from your opponent. So yeah, keep that in mind. We do have ways to set up Chillet, just not with Elphadren Aqua. Hey, look, we're running Relaxosaurus again. Yeah, it's a dragon, and it's a really good dragon. Once again, 7-drop, 1200 power, 3-strike. Auto on deploy, choose 1 6-cost or less pal, and and you rest it, and while this card is in the base, that does not stand. So just a great way to lock your opponent's stuff down. We're running 4 of everything, by the way. And then we are running 2 non-dragon pals. We're running the Foxbark's Toasty Hug. This is one of the 4-drop Force of Pals. This is great. We just wanted as low drops as many low drops as possible beyond the dragon. So yeah, we're running the low drop Force of Pals. And then finally, we're running more low drops. We have Spark It, Hazardous Contact. I really like this card. It's one of my favorite red cards. It's a 3-drop, 400 power, 1-strike pal. And then auto on deploy, you choose a pal in the stand state, and you deal it 500 damage. So it's a little hit and miss, right? Sometimes they don't have anything in the stand state, but sometimes they do, especially if they want to like, block or something to that effect, or maybe make it so that their dudes are a little bit more protected. So I like Spark It a lot, especially as like a 3-drop, and it's just up to 1 pal, so you don't have to, if you only it doesn't shoot itself, for example, which is good. And that's it for the pals. Once again, dragons, all the dragons. You want to hit the dragons off of the Chillet, and then go to town from there. All right, let's talk about some removal. We have the Makeshift Handgun. This is just a 2-drop, deal 500 damage, which is really nice, and it works really well with Spark It. And also it says it has the gear effect where you can rest it and give a pal plus 200, which is pretty solid. We're only running 2 copies of the handgun. We might want to run more. I'm actually running 4 Ignis Breath in addition to the handgun. Yeah, I might swap them around. I might swap it to 2 Ignis Breath. So Ignis Breath is a 2-drop that deals 500 damage. So very similar to the very similar to the handgun. The big difference is that you can do this at quick speed, so you can kind of catch your opponents off guard a little bit with it. Whereas the handgun, you just play it on your turn, you deal the 500 damage, and then, you know, after that you can do some pumps or whatever. But the reason I think we want to run the handgun is one, you get the plus 200, but you also get bonus out of Axel strategy. We'll talk about Axel strategy right now. So Axel strategy is a 4-drop. Choose one of the following. You can choose a pal and deal 1500 damage, which is fantastic, kills almost anything in the game. Or you can choose up to X pals and stand them, where X is equal to the number of our gear. And so having the handguns will actually help with that effect. So it could be a reason to run the handguns over the quick speed removal. Or we can choose all of our opponents' 5 or greater cost pals, and they can't block for the turn, which is super good. This card's great. Does everything we want. Kills stuff if we need to. Makes so they can't block with their bigger guys, or we can get additional attacks, which is kind of like the best thing. So yeah, we're running 4 Axel strategy, 4 Ignis Breath, and 2 handgun. But like I said, we might go down on the handgun. I mean, go up on the handgun and down on the Ignis Breath. So that is something that we're considering. And then for the last gear, we have the Pump Action Shotgun. I think is one of the best cards in the game, and I think this is going to warp the entire game around it. You need to prepare for the shotgun. So it's a 7-drop, auto on deploy, choose all of our opponent's pals, and deal 1200 damage to all of them. So this is a one-sided board wipe. It's only your opponent's pals. It's a one-sided board wipe for 1200 or less. And also still has the rest that give a pal 200 until end of turn. Yeah, this card's crazy good. And like I said, you want to basically build your deck knowing your opponent is probably going to get to this, especially if they're red. And it means stuff like Jormuntide, for example, is I think our only pal that survives shotgun, our opponent's shotgun. Like it's 1700, and then everything else dies. Even Relaxed Source only has 1200. Everything else in our deck, 900, 600, 400, 400, these all die to shotgun. And if you look at the first deck, we have 700, 900, 1300. Like I said, 1300 is a really important breakpoint. And then everything else basically just dies, well, except for 8-drop that I mentioned. Everything else dies to shotgun. So shotgun, extremely powerful. This is, once again, I think this is a meta warping card. So prepare for the shotgun. It is a 7-drop, but still, you get 2 soul per turn in Palworld. So this will come out a lot earlier than you think. It's very good. All right, and then rounding out the deck, we have 4 Victor's Strategy. Well, actually, no, not rounding out the deck. We also have Aurora's Guide, which is really important. But Victor's Strategy. So once again, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, pick a card from among them, put it in your hand, so we can get whatever we need, right? We can get removal, we can get a shotgun, we can get a Chillet. Yeah, this is great. If we have 3 souls, if we're like going second and we have 3 souls, we can go Victor's Strategy into Chillet, because this will go from 3 costs into 5 costs, which is pretty nice. Or we can, you know, bounce a pal or draw X cards. We're not running any structures really, so we don't care about that. That's most of the other 2 effects. And we're running 4 copies of that. And then the final card that we're running on our main deck is really important. It is Aurora's Guide. It is a 2-cost quick effect. You can draw a card, and then you choose a card from your hand and you put on top of your deck. Now this is really, really good. Just baseline, you can put a Lucky Pal on top of your deck to kind of help prevent damage. But once again, this is very similar to the Elfidorn Aqua, where if your opponent is going to be doing something like this, you can, if you see it ahead of time, you can attack with something small. Obviously, this is quick, so you can kind of do it in response to an attack. If your opponent's attacking with something huge, like their own Jormuntide Ignis, you can draw a card and put a Lucky Pal on top to prevent the damage. But if they do it ahead of time, obviously, this is something you can play around. But more importantly, you can set up our Dragon play with Chillet, right? So you can play your Aurora's Guide, and then you can drop a Chillet, and then, obviously putting a dragon on top like the Jormuntide, and then get the Jormuntide for free, which is just also great value. So this card is really good in blue in general, but in this deck in particular, extremely powerful. And then that is the full deck. I do have some other cards that I'm considering. So one thing to consider is more Force of Pals. There's the 5-drop or a bigger one, a 7-drop, if you want to go for a bigger one. Once again, it still is in shotgun range, but having 3 strike is pretty good on these. So we might want to consider running more Force of Pals. We might want to consider more 2-for-1s. So we have Kitsune Wormbane Fangs. This is an on deploy. Choose a 7 or greater pal and deal 1200 damage. 7 cost or greater is quite hard to get to. Like, there's not a lot of 7-drops. Like, for our deck, we run 2. We run Relaxosaurus, and we run Yormantide. So this is one that I need to see how the meta shakes out to see whether or not how good it's going to be in the long run. And then, of course, you can run a blue Yormantide instead of red Yormantide. I think red one is just better, but, well, better for our deck. We want to use it to kill our opponent. This one's good at kind of like, you know, slowing things down, lets you draw a card, rest your opponent's thing. This one's pretty solid, but I think if you're running like a different dragon deck, if you're running like, I don't know, blue-green dragons, you can consider this Yormantide. But we're running red dragons, so we want big Yormantide here. Yeah, that's dragons. This is another deck that I'm really looking forward to playing a lot. Once again, we've been playtesting it a bunch already, but we'll have to see how things shake out. So yeah, this is a cool deck. All right, let's move on to maybe some of the more memey decks. So next up we have BDIF, B-Deck Inform. I want to give a huge shout out to the person who commented this in one of the previous Palworld videos that we did. They're like, I think it was in our set review, and they were like, BDIF, B-Deck Inform. And I'm like, oh, that's good. That's really good. If you commented that, by the way, comment again, and I'll like heart and like maybe I'll pin your comment. Anyway, so this is a B deck. This deck revolves around Eliza B and B-Guard. And B-Guard is such an interesting card. We'll talk about B-Guard first, because this is an interesting card. So B-Guard, Knight of the Flower Garden, is a 3-drop, 400 power, 1-strike POW. Continuous, you can have any number of cards with the same name as this card in your deck. So we can run any number of B-Guards. We're running 10. Auto, on deploy, you get a food. If you have a farming structure, this card gets plus 500 power until end of turn. Great. It'll attack for a 900 if you have a farm, and we get a food, which is important. So we care about bees, we care about farms, and we care about food. And that's kind of the deck. This deck's really fun. It's weird, and I like it. I'm not sure if this is the best version of it, once again, but this is my first take on it. So, why do we care about the bees? Well, we have Eliza B, Queen of the Flower Garden, as one of our lucky pals. So Eliza B is a 5-drop, 700 power, 2-strike, but she gets an additional plus 300 for each of our B-Guard pals. Now keep in mind, in Palworld, you can only have 5 pals out at a time. So the biggest that this could be, is it could get an extra 1200. So still pretty good. You can make this like a 1900 B. So yeah, they would be her and then like 4 other B-Guards. To get an additional like 1200 for each of the B-Guards. But more importantly, she helps just barf out a bunch of bees. So act not once per turn. You can do this as many times as you want. Act, consume 1, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a B-Guard, you can play it with the cost reduced by 2. It does not become 0. So you don't get it for free, which is kind of unfortunate. But it does make it cost 1. So you can play the B-Guards from the top of the deck for 1. Which is pretty good. So we can kind of like spam some bees. Our other lucky pal is Lylene. I think this is the best green card. Blessing of the Goddess. 7-drop, 900 power, 3-strike. Auto on deploy, you get 3 food. And then once per turn, you can consume 3 food and look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 6 cost or less pal, and you just play it for free. And then put the rest on the bottom of your deck. Or no, I'm sorry, not bottom. You shuffle the rest into your deck. Hey, guess what's a good 6-drop to get from that? Well, 6 or less. We can get our Queen Bee. We can get Eliza B. So, yeah, obviously, we can use Eileen to go get our Eliza B, and the Eliza B can hopefully pump out a bunch of B-Guards, which is great. All right, we were running 10 B-Guards. Let's talk about the rest of the deck. So we have our Force of Pals. This is the Dinosum Radiant Fragrance. This is just a nice 4-cost Force of Pals card. We have Demud, Mellow Bounty. This card's great. This is a 4-drop, 500 power, 2-strike. Auto on deploy, you get 2 food, so this works really well for eating the food from our 2 lucky pals. And then auto, when this card is assigned to a farming structure, we increase our soul by 1 in the rest state, so we ramp by 1, which is pretty solid. And once again, we do have farms for the bees and the Demud. We also running Gamas. I like Gamas in a lot of green decks. It's a 4-drop, 600 power, 2-strike pal, and auto on deploy, it gets plus 300, and the skill Assault until end of turn. So basically, it's a 900 power pal that can attack any other pal the turn it comes into play. So this is kind of like our green removal. Running 4 copies of this, but yeah, just jamming this and smashing into something from your opponent, hopefully with cost 800 or with power 800, so we don't trade, is good. So I like the Gummas. And then finally, for our pals, we have a Petalia, Sweet Blessings, a 6-drop, 700 power 2-strike pal, and then auto on deploy, we gain a life, and then we choose 2 of our souls and we stand them, which is pretty solid. This is a great one to get off of Lylene if we don't hit a B, Eliza B. So that's pretty solid. Yeah, I do like that quite a bit. And then for our structure, we just run Ranch. This is the best farm structure for our deck. So it's just a 2-cost act. Once per turn, you assign a pal, and we get either 2 wood or 3 wood or 3 food, and we draw a card. Obviously, we're choosing the food, and obviously the best option here is the Demud. So we play the Demud, you get 2 food, you assign it to the ranch, get 3 more food, draw a card, and you ramp 1. Very good, very very good. If you're going from a two resources into 4 with the mud is just really really strong. It's a slow. I mean, it's like you're setting up for a future like ramp and stuff. You're not really being super proactive in terms of like attacking your opponent, but you're setting up for the late game, which is kind of cool. And then for our events, we are running 4 Found an Egg. This is just a 2-cost. Look at the top 5 of your deck, pick a pal from among them, and then shuffle the rest in your deck. If we don't pick a pal, we get 3 food. So we can just use this to get food if we want. Or we can just use this to grab like Eliza B or Lylene, which is really good. I think this is a really, really good card for green. We also are running Lily's Strategy. This card is sweet. It's a 3-cost. Choose one of the following. We can give all of our pals plus 1,000 attack until end of turn, which is really good if we have a big board of bees. Or we can choose a structure or gear and put it in the graveyard, which is great. So this is good structure or like gear removal. Or we can ramp by 1, which is also really good. Yeah, I think this card's fantastic. So that's great. We get this one. And then the other card, so the last card here is we can splash a little bit. It was basically mono green up to this point, and I just like Zoe's strategy, and I think it works well in the deck. We can either do some resource denial, or we can use a pal from our graveyard and return it to our hand, so we can get back like a Lylene or an Eliza B, and then force our opponent to discard. Or we can sack something like one of our bees and make our opponent kill one of their dudes. So this is great. It's just removal or recursion for the deck. You do have other options, by the way. You could run blue, for example, instead, and have a little bit more ways to set the top of your deck, so you can get cheap bees. But you can take it as you will. And then we do have what I call some options. So we can run more Force of Pals. We can run something like the Wumpo Botan, which is just a big Force of Pals dude, and we're going to be ramping, so this could be a good one to put in the deck as kind of like a doubles as an early game Force of Pals, but maybe a top end finisher. Or we can add more farms with the breeding farm. I don't really like the breeding farm all that much in this deck, but we could do it. This is a way to consume our food. So we can, once per turn, we can consume 2 food, reveal the top card of our deck. If it's an 8-cost or less pal, you draw it. Otherwise, you put it in the graveyard. Or we can consume 2 food and assign 2 pals and choose an 8 or less pal from our hand, and you just deploy it, which could be good. This one is one that we could add in just to add more farms. I like just the ranch, but we'll have to see how the deck plays out. Once again, it could just be a meme, but I like it. All right, speaking of, well, actually, I don't think this one's a meme. I think this deck's actually really good. We're going to be going on to what I'm calling Gungullet. Gungullet Mark 1. This is my Gungullet gun deck. You heard that right. Gungullet guns. So, instead of talking about the Lucky Pals first this time, we're going to talk about the Pengullets. So, I think we need to start with the guns, okay? The Pengullet and the guns. So let's talk about the Pengullet rocket launcher first. So it is a 4-cost gear. You can act, rest this card, choose a pal, it gets plus 200 until end of turn. If it's Pengullet, which it will be, instead it gets plus 500 and the skill until end of turn, act, rest this card, so rest Pengullet, choose all of our opponent's pals, and they take X damage, where X is equal to this card's attack. put this in the graveyard. So basically, you give one of your Pengullets plus 500, and then you sack your Pengullet to explode all of our opponent's stuff. That's kind of what we want to do with this deck. We want to explode all of our opponent's things with big Pengullets, and then we're backing that up with more guns. We have the pump action shotgun, like I mentioned, to 1200 damage our opponent's board, and we're also running some handguns to shoot our opponents as well. This is the Gungullet deck. All right, let's talk about the Pengullets. Let's talk about the best Pengullet. So we have Pengullet Yearning for the Sky. This is a 600 power 2-strike Pengullet. Like I said, I run this on a lot of blue decks. Auto, when this card is put in the graveyard, draw a card. Yeah, you give this plus 500 and you blast all of your opponent's things for 1100 and you draw a card. That's what you do with this and Pengullet. Or in the Pengullet rocket launcher. Very good. We're also running just the 3-drop Pengullet, the frequent flyer. This is from the starter deck. 3-drop, 500 power, 1-strike Pengullet. It's just a Pengullet. We just need more Pengullets. And we're also running the Pen King, Mighty Warrior of the Deep. 5-cost, 600 power, 2-strike. However, all of our Pengullets get plus 700. So we're turning that 1100 Pengullet rocket into a, 1800 Pengullet rocket that will almost guaranteed wipe your opponent's entire board. Ooh, very good. Very, very good. And so that's all of our Pengullet strategy with the Pengullet rocket launcher. Let's talk about some of our supporting cards. And to go with this, we have another strategy, and that is 2-for-1. So let's talk about our let's talk about our Lucky Pal. So I'm going red for the other side of this, and we're going, well, we have to go red so we can run the shotgun, of course. So we're running Suzaku Hellfire Wings. So Suzaku is a 7-drop Lucky Pal, 1200 power, 3-strike. When one of our red cards, so this doesn't work off this does not pump up the Pengullet rocket launcher, but it works on all of other red cards. If one of our red cards would deal damage other than battle damage to a pal, it deals plus 200 damage instead. This strengthens this card's ability too. And what does that mean? Well, when we deploy this one, we can choose a pal and deal it 700 damage. Well, 900 damage, which is great. And we basically want a lot of effects like this, where we play dudes and then they deal damage. We want to basically keep our opponent's board completely empty and then just kill them with our Pengullets, or even Suzaku. So yeah, nice little 2-for-1 that pumps up all of our other red damaging effects. And then I'm also choosing to run Blazomet. I was running the Yormantide Ignis, but I swapped it for Blazomet for now, and I kind of wanted to see how this plays out in the long run. So Blazomet is an 8-drop, 1600 power, 3-strike pal. So 1600 power, very good. Once again, survives opposing shotguns. And then on deploy, you choose an enemy pal, or choose any pal, and you deal 1000 damage. Obviously, if we have Suzaku, it's going to hit it for 1200, but if you have Suzaku and Blazomet in the field, you're doing pretty good. But yeah, this is just another big pal that kills something when it comes into play. Like I said, I was considering running, or was at one point testing Yormantide Ignis, which is a good finisher, but I really wanted to go more into like the 2-for-1 value, and I really like how it's been playing out so far. So yeah, we're running the Blazomet, Molten Sovereign. It's a big 8-drop, but hey, we're going to be just blowing our opponent's stuff up, and if they just, play like a big guy after we pump action shotgun, next turn we just Blazomet, just kill whatever they play. For the rest of the pals, we have Spark It, which, once again, I like this card a lot. You see it in a lot of my red decks. 3-drop, 400 power, 1-strike, auto on deploy. You shoot one of your opponent's standing pals for 500. Obviously works really well with the Shizaku because it'll deal 700 instead. And then it works well in conjunction with other stuff like our guns and whatever, so you can stack damage to kill stuff better. And then the final pal is Celeray Loop de Loop. It's just a nice little draw card, choose a card from your hand and discard it on attack. 3-drop, 400 power, 1-strike. So a good way to filter through our stuff. And I just really wanted low-cost, impactful pals, and I feel like Celeray is one of the more impactful low-cost pals. We're running a lot of pals in the deck, as you can see, and yeah, so if it's not a Pengullet, I want it to have some sort of really powerful effect, hopefully to kill our opponent's stuff, but drawing cards is fine too. We're also running 2 copies of the Antique Dresser. I think it's just better to look at it like this. It's a 4-drop. This is, once per turn, you can discard a card from your hand and make all your dudes into Pengullets. Choose a card name, declare a card name, choose all of your cards, and they get that declared name in addition until the end of turn. So they all become Pengullets. so we can get extra value out of the Pen King or out of the Gungullet rocket launcher. So yes, I'm only running 2 copies of this because it's a 4-drop that kind of doesn't do anything unless we're already like gonna be, you know, jamming. And getting multiple of these is not good. You only want 1 of these. If you draw 2 of these in your opening hand, like you mulligan and you draw 2 of these, oh, that's rough. That's real rough. So yeah, we're only running 2, and we can maybe get it from you know, our Celeray or even Victor's. So yeah, I think 2 is very defensible here. Or we can act once per turn, discard X cards from our hand, choose X of our pals, and they get plus 1k power, but they also get an additional strike. So this is also a way we can do a nice little finisher, right? If we have a bunch of cards in our hand and a bunch of Pengullets out, we've already wiped our opponent's board, well, we can give them all additional strikes, try to finish the game. All right, we have our guns. I already talked about the guns. We have the shotgun to 1200 our opponent's board. Obviously, this is red, so it gets pumped by Suzaku. We have makeshift handgun for 500 damage, which also gets pumped by Suzaku. And then we have the Gungullet rocket launcher, which does not get pumped by Suzaku, but it's still going to probably wipe our opponent's board. And then we have the final 2 cards. We have Axel Strategy, amazing in this deck. You can blast a pal for 1500, but once again, could be 1700 with Suzaku. Choose X pals and you stand them, where X is the number of our gears. We have a lot of gear in the deck, so once again, very good with that. Or we can make it so our opponent's 5 or greater pals can't block. So Axel Strategy, extremely powerful in our deck. Running 3 of those, and those, is that weird? And then 3 Victor Strategy, which once again, look at the top 5 of your deck, choose a card from among them, add it to your hand. We can also bounce a pal, or we can draw equal to our structures. Probably not that one. We really want to get the look at the top 5, and then grab whatever the best card is for the situation. Maybe we need a rocket launcher, maybe it's late game and we need a shotgun, maybe we just want a big dude like Blazamet or Suzaku, or maybe we want our Pen King to pump our board if we already have some stuff going on. So yeah, obviously really good. And then some cards to consider, once again, Dormantide Ignis that I already mentioned, and then the Kitsune, which is another one where I'm like, I'm not sure how good this one is into the actual meta. We'll have to wait and see if there's enough 7 drops or greater that this will actually do anything to. Because once you get to a certain point, it doesn't kill the 7 drops. Like Blazamet is like 1600 attack, not gonna kill it. So yeah, that's my Gungullet deck, Gungullet Mark 1. This is another deck that this is probably my 3rd favorite deck that I've been brewing after the Dragon deck and the Reanimator. Reanimator number 1, Dragon number 2, Gungullet number 3, and then we have our final deck for today. This is one that I think a lot of people are going to be building, and I'd love to see what a lot of other folks do with this. This is my Nocturnal deck. This is almost mono purple, and we just go really big into the Nocturnal strategy. We do have a little bit of a blue splash, but it's a super small blue splash. So let's talk about it. And we'll just go from top to bottom on this one. We have Hellzephyr, Wings of the Moonless Night, one of my favorite pals in Palworld. 7-drop, continual, Nocturnal. So I'm just going to say Nocturnal from here on out. But what Nocturnal does is, if it's night, the pal gets plus 300 power. So just keep that in mind. But I'm not going to go over that continuously because I'll have to explain it all the time. So this has Nocturnal, and then auto, when one of our Nocturnal pals is deployed, if it's night, so I think this counts itself. I think it counts itself. Judge? I think it counts itself. When your Nocturnal pal is deployed, if it's night, choose up to 1 pal with cost less than or equal to that pal and put it in the graveyard. If you put one of our pals this way, at the end of your turn, or end of that turn, rest this card. So yeah, this is just a great way to machine gun our opponent's stuff down if it's night. We have a bunch of ways to make it night, so making it night's not too hard. And so, yeah, that's great. And it also means we want Nocturnal pals. So we want to have it be night, and we want Nocturnal pals. All right, now we have Shadowbeak. We already talked about Shadowbeak. Shadowbeak in this deck in particular makes it, all the better. So Shadowbeak is, once again, while this card is in the rest state, it's night. If it's night, all of our pals auto trigger twice. And then at the end of our turn, we can choose one of our pals. This is up to one of our pals, which is pretty good. We don't have to do it and butchered it. If we butchered one of our cards this way, your opponent chooses one of the pals and puts it in the graveyard, so we can get that double. And we have a lot of small pals we can butcher to get value out of. And then also getting the auto doubled on Hellzephyr is quite strong. All right, let's talk about all of our normal pals. We have a lot. Let's talk about the simple ones first. So we have Depresso. It's just a 2-drop, 100 power, 1 strike with double Nocturnal. So if it's nighttime, these are 700 power. So 2-drop 700 power, very overrated or overstated for this game. We also have the Daydream, Deep Slumber. This is a 3-cost 400 power with Nocturnal. So once again, 3-drop 700 power, pretty solid. If it's night, these are some of our low drops. We can use these for you know, just to kind of chip in, do some early game, you know, aggression or early game defense, and then we can butcher them later for stuff like the Hell Zephyr. Or not the Hell Zephyr. We can butcher them later for the Shadow Beak. Shadow Beak butchers. Hell Zephyr also kills, but differently. We're also running Lee's Punk. Like I said, I put this in all my purple decks. I think this card's amazing. When it dies, your opponent chooses and discards a card from their hand. It's a 3-drop 200 power, 1 strike. This is great to butcher, great to block with, great card just in general. We're also running the Loop Moon or the Lou Moon, 4-cost 500 power, 2-strike pal. Auto on deploy. If it's night, choose one of our opponents. I think this says 8. Which is wrong. This is not. It's 6 on the card. You choose a 6-cost or less pal in the stand state, and you put it in the graveyard. Hey, I wish it was 8. They'd kill like everything in the game right now. But I'm pretty sure it is 6 here, not 8 here. But yeah, you choose a 6-drop, and you just kill it. It has to be in the stand state, but it's still really good. And once again, this is an auto on deploy. So like, hey, if you have your double from Shadow Beak, you can kill 2 things. That rarely happens, to be honest. It's rare that I actually have 2 things in stand state, but still pretty good. And also, this cares about it being night, which is why we're not running this in like the Reanimator deck, for example. We also have the Pyron Noct. So this is our Force of Pals for the deck. It's really good because, well, it's a big card, so we can actually use this as somewhat of a finisher. It has 1100 power and 3 strike, but also it's Nocturnal, which means that it will be a 1400 power. And because it's Nocturnal, it'll trigger the Hell Zephyr Nocturnal Pal being deployed effect, which is pretty sweet. Like playing this, blowing up anything, you know, 7 cost or less, is really, really solid. So, yeah, pretty good. And once again, it gets out of shotgun range, right? If it's nighttime, this is 1400, gets out of shotgun range, so very relevant. Notably, only Shadow Beak so far gets out of shotgun range. So Shadow Beak and Pyron are the only ones that get out of shotgun range for the deck. And finally, we have the Tombat. Once again, I think the Tombat's great. On deploy, read the top 3 of your deck, choose a pal, add it to your hand, put the rest in the graveyard. Yeah, he's really good. Pick your best pal from the top of your deck and kind of go to town. And then we also have a bunch of night enablers. So we have the Shoddy Bed. So act once per turn. Put the top 3 cards of your deck in your graveyard. It becomes night until the opponent's next turn. And then at the end of your turn, if you have a Nocturnal Pal in the rest state, you draw a card. So this is great. Make it night, and then you can also draw cards. I like having 4 copies of these because this auto effect actually can trigger, you know, from each of your beds. So if you have like 2 beds out and you have a Nocturnal Pal in the rest state, you can draw 2 cards, which is pretty nice. And they're also running 2 copies of Lamp, which lets you act, put the top 3 cards of your deck in the graveyard, and then it becomes night. And then also, all of our pals get Nocturnal. So an additional copy of Nocturnal. And as you can see from Depresso, Nocturnal stacks. So you'd get multiple instances of that. So it just kind of essentially pumps all of our team by 300, which is pretty solid. The big reason I'm not running more, it's a 4-drop, and we're already running the Shoddy Beds, and I like the Shoddy Beds more. I like drawing cards more. So we are running both of these. And then we're also running the Daydreams Necklace. This is a 3-drop. Auto on deploy, you can choose a Daydream Pal from your hand to deploy it, which is actually pretty solid. We can deploy our Daydream basically for free, which is really good if we have the necklace. And then this one also helps us make it night. So we rest this card, choose a pal, gets plus 200 until end of turn, and then it also just becomes night until the opponent's next turn. So this is kind of our best way to enable night. And we have like, what, this is like 10, 14 ways to make it night in the deck. All you need is the necklace, but any of the other ones works pretty well. We're also running 2 strike from the darkness, 4-drop, just kill anything. Fantastic. We have Zoe Strategy. Once again, I put this in all the purple decks. We can do the resource denial part, or we can get a pal back from our graveyard. We have a lot of ways to put stuff in our graveyard. So this is a way to kind of like get some value out of that, get some a pal back, and then force opponent to discard. Or we can butcher one of our pals and our opponent has to sack a dude. Once again, butchering the pals is great, and we do have some good butcher fodder like the Lee's Punk. Lee's Punk always loves being butchered, either by Shadowbeak or by Zoe Strategy. And then finally, we just have a small blue splash of 2 copies of Victor Strategy, just to kind of get the, you know, look at the top 5, pick the best card from among them. Or we do have the bounce effect. Or we can actually draw some cards. We're running like, you know, we're running some structures. We could draw a couple cards with this. But mostly it's usually the other effects. And this one in particular is pretty nice with this deck, because we do want to make sure that we can get one of our Night Enablers. And yeah, that's my Nocturnal deck. I think you can lean a little bit more into Reanimation if you wanted to. You can maybe lean a little more into the Catress and a little more into that kind of stuff. I found that just going all in on the Reanimator is where I want to be. But I think this is one that a lot of people will be playing and testing out. I'm very curious to see what other people's Nocturnals list end up being. For this initial deck, I went like pretty big into Nocturnal and pretty big into purple. But I'm curious to see if people splash and do other stuff, like maybe red and I don't know, maybe even green. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. But I think this deck's pretty solid. And yeah, those are my first 5 Palworld decks. Let me know in the comment section down below what other decks you would like to see. I've been playing around with some other versions. I did play around with a Gungullet deck that's not gun based. That's like blue-green. But we'll see. Let's go ahead and go back to me in the studio before we wrap up the video. Oh, it's me again. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section down below what decks you are brewing for Palworld Set 1, what decks you have been playing and enjoying the most. I'd really be very curious to know. This is, you know, brand new game, brand new meta, so it's kind of like the Wild West. As things progress and as we actually get some like tournament results, I'll be reporting on them and talking about them and featuring some of the better performing decks, and we'll see where things go. But thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate the support here on Red Zone Rogue and on the Palworld content. Palworld content has been doing very well, and it's really encouraging, especially because I really like the game. The game is just so much fun to play. So thank you all for watching. I'm going to loops now. I appreciate you for being here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hype the video if you can. I really appreciate it. And hey, we'll see you next time.